When is a legitimate Famicom not a Nintendo Famicom? When it's made by a completely different company? Nintendo revolutionised the console market when it introduced its Famicom console in 1983. In 1986, in an effort to give a cheaper option for games than cartridges, they released the Famicom Disk System add-on. This used 3-inch quick discs made by Mitsumi, although modified to use a raised and embossed Nintendo logo as a security feature. The Famicom sits on top of the disk system and plugs in using a connected cartridge that acts as a bridge. Both machines require power, with the disk system using a PSU or batteries. It was fairly obvious that a combined option would be far easier to use. So now we finally get to Sharp. Sharp was founded in Tokyo in 1912. Its name comes from one of the founders' first inventions, the ever-sharp mechanical pencil. After a disaster destroyed the business, it was reborn as a consumer electronics firm. Sharp negotiated a license agreement with Nintendo that would allow them to create several Famicom-themed products. It was a very different Nintendo back then. Sharp would eventually produce the C1 NES television, the Famicom Titler, and of course the Twin Famicom. The name obviously comes from the fact that they managed to merge the Famicom and the disk system into one unit. It doesn't just have the 3-inch disc, it also has a cartridge slot. You switch between one or the other using this switch here. When you put this switch into the disk mode, it means that you can't use the cartridge anymore, so you can use one or the other. Turning on the disk system acts pretty much like putting this RAM cartridge into the original Famicom did. Sharp has removed most of the Nintendo branding from the machine, including the start-up screen. This is possibly on Nintendo's insistence, so it could distance itself from a separate product. Now, you probably have noticed there's quite a few different machines here. That's because there are in fact 2 versions of the Twin Famicom, each with 2 sets of colours. I only have 3 here, I don't have the 4th one, we'll get to that in a second. So the earlier model, these 2, were made in red with black highlights and black with red highlights. They didn't have turbo controls on their joypads. The second version came in black with some green highlights and red with beige, which is the one we don't have, which has been standing here as the original Famicom. Yeah, now the difference on the controllers here is we have these turbo switches, much like the NEC's PC Engine controllers eventually had. Now they do all have, as you can see, all of the controllers are built into the system, much like the original Famicom, and on each of them the second controller has a microphone input with volume, which is exactly the same as the original Famicom. A few games took advantage of that, but we'll leave that for a video on the Famicom. We'll do it at some point, I imagine. Other than all that, the Twin Famicom works exactly like a Famicom with the Famicom disk system. It even has an accessory port underneath. Oh, this is the closest machine to me. This is the worst one to do because we've got the Famicom disk system. If I could just get it underneath there. There we go. We've got the Famicom disk system connected to that one. I'll talk about that at some point. But yeah, underneath here there is a special port that allows you to use the Famicom Twin Famicom as an external FDS disc for a normal Famicom. So we can plug it in here instead of an FDS disc. I'm not entirely sure why you'd do that. I guess there must be reasons, who knows, but you could. Twin Famicoms are fairly obtainable. They even appear on eBay, and prices vary wildly actually, between about 50 quid to 150 quid depending on where you look and also what condition the machine is in. Boxed ones, you can probably add another 50 to 80 pounds on top of that price. Now the drive unit inside these is exactly the same as in this FDS unit, and that means you can use spare parts, and even whole discs can replace the ones inside here, which is handy because that is the thing that will most certainly go wrong, and repairing a Famicom disk drive is trickier than many, even if it's just the belt that's gone, because there's a huge alignment thing you've got to do, which is a pain in the arse. Yeah. Right, I guess we'll take a bit of a closer look at one of the machines. just to go through the bits. We've covered most of the stuff already, but we'll have a look at one of the machines anyway. They're basically the same once you get past the different versions and the different colours, the slight difference in styling. So we'll just choose one and take a look at that back in a sec. Right, so here we go. Here's one of those machines. As we said before, the controllers are, move this forward a little bit, are fixed into the back. It's a rather lovely tray that they can sit in. They're basically Famicom pads with the same facilities as the Famicom, especially these versions without the turbo. On the top we have our cartridge slot. That's locked when this is set to disk mode, so if we switch that there, good push, that will now open. The cartridge also has an eject button here to force the cartridge out without you having to pull it. And go to the front. Here we go. We have our 3-inch disk drive there. We have a reset button, and we have an on-off switch. Lovely, great big, like pastel-y giant buttons. I really do like it. Yeah, that's an operation light right there. Now, on the back, there we go. So we've got an RGB cable. We've got composite, and we have our power supply right there. And yeah, the final two things rather. There we go. So we have the accessory port there, which is also on the Famicom, allows you to put in things like light guns and the 3D goggles as well. You plug in there, and we have a pass-through cable there to allow you to chain up drives, so you can like copy from one or another. It's got a nice little slot that goes over it to protect it. Right, well, there we go. Put that there. Well, I mean, we've done quite a few streams on the Famicom disk system, but we'll play a few games anyway. So, yeah, we'll just go off and play some games, and then we'll do the summary. See you in a bit. Okay, so that's a Twin Famicom. It's a lovely looking machine. They're relatively obtainable, like I said, and they're kind of worth getting because they're not any less reliable than a Famicom, the Famicom disk system, but they're much more convenient to use because of the one power supply and also the built-in composites. You don't have to modify a Famicom for composite output. So yeah, I really do recommend them. They're also quite nice looking, which is it's never a bad thing. I do prefer this black one. My normal driver is the black and green one, which I also like. But yeah, there's so many colours to choose from, and they basically all do the same thing. There's even a mythical. I say mythical. I've seen it in a photo, but that's all on an advertisement, a pink one. But I have never ever seen it, so I don't know if it actually exists or anything. But there's an advertisement out there with a pink one on there, so who knows? Anyway. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like. If you really enjoyed the video, please hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy the video or you have something else to say, then please leave it in the comments below. And if you feel like helping us run this channel, to help us get some more stuff to cover, then by all means please join our Patreon, like the people you are about to see. See you next time.